What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and we continue here with our 2021 schedule previews and projected records. USC is up next, and if you are a USC fan, please subscribe to our USC channel. All kinds of content there covering the Trojans. And if you are a fan of any of the major teams in college football, we've probably got a channel for your team. Just head over to sg1sports.com/channels and you can find the team channel for your team. It was only a 4-game regular season for USC in 2020. I'm sure Trojan fans happy now to be back to a normal season and have a full schedule. They played the 4 conference games, the 4 regular season games, then of course losing to Oregon in the Pac-12 championship. But let's look at this 2021 schedule here. Again, 4-1 last year if you count the Pac-12 championship game. And before we go game by game, let's look at who USC plays outside of the Pac-12 South, because that's what I like to always look at first. You know you're going to play the teams in your division. Now we're going to look at who you play outside of your division, in the non-conference, and then in the other division in your conference. So this is who they play. They play San Jose State, Notre Dame, and BYU in the non-conference. Really not too tough of a non-conference schedule there. Obviously, Notre Dame's going to be a tough game, but they play them every year in a normal year. I do play them on the road, but Notre Dame is not a team that I'm expecting to be in the top 5 again this year. So it's not. I'm not saying USC can't win that game, but it will be tough. And BYU actually returns less production than any other team in college football in the FBS. So this is a team that should take a major step back. And then San Jose State, a very good group of 5 team. Of course, we saw them win the Mountain West last year. If it had been a normal year and all the games been played, was this really the best team in the Mountain West? I don't know. But still, they are a good team, and they won't be a pushover there in the non-conference. So, a pretty tough it's tough in the way that they don't have any easy wins in the non-conference, but I don't think you have any games that they can't win. They're not playing they played Alabama in the past. You don't have anything like that. And then if you look at who they play in the Pac-12 North, I think USC lucked out big time. I think you avoid the top 2 teams out of the North. They will play Stanford, Washington State, Oregon State, and Cal. To me, those are the 4 bottom teams in the Pac-12 North. They do not have to play Washington. They do not have to play Oregon. It does not get any better than that. You just don't get a better draw. That is as good as it gets for USC. And so when you look at that, you got to really like their chances in the Pac-12 South, and you have to really just look at the schedule and say, USC has a chance to really do something. If they're a really good team this year, their schedule is going to give them a chance. Now, that's the good news, an easier schedule. But on the flip side, if they're in that playoff conversation, will they be ranked high enough because of their strength of schedule? Remember last year, they were staying undefeated but not getting anywhere near the top 10. So let's go through the entire schedule now. They open up with San Jose State there on September the 4th. They'll play Stanford on September 11th, Washington State on September 18th on the road, then Oregon State on September 25th. So that's the month of September. And again, when you look at this schedule, there are no real easy wins. There are no FCS opponents. There are no bad group of 5 teams. And there's really no horrible team, I think, in the Pac-12 this year. So you're going to have to bring it every week. Yes, they're going to be favored in a lot of these games, but there are also a lot of games where they will have a chance to lose. So it's a very interesting schedule. You go into the month of October, they'll play on the road at Colorado. Then they'll play Utah on October the 9th. Utah has a chance, I think, to be pretty good this year. That's going to be a tough matchup there. They'll get a bye week after Utah, before Notre Dame. So really, that's a great spot for your bye week. Utah, a physical team. You want that bye week after you play them, and you get an extra week to prepare for Notre Dame in what is probably going to be their toughest test on this schedule. And that's probably going to be the toughest team that they play, especially playing them on the road. Extra time to prepare, that'll be helpful before they go on the road to face Notre Dame on October 23rd. Then on October 30th, they will play Arizona at home. And then they'll play the other Arizona school. November 6th, they'll go on the road to play Arizona State. Another key game in the Pac-12 South, a game that could determine the South. I think right now when I look at it, and again, it's very early, I'm looking at USC, Utah, and Arizona State. Those are the 3 teams that I've got my eye on. Then you got Cal on November 13th. They'll play them on the road. UCLA November 20th at home, and then BYU to close things out November 27th, also at home. And like I said, BYU not going to be the same team that they were last year, probably not even close to that. So again, overall schedule, not too bad. It's a tricky schedule, and it seems like this is the case with USC a lot of times, or pretty much every year. They don't always have the toughest schedule. They play in the Pac-12. They're not going to play a bunch of top 10 teams, but they don't have the easy win. You don't have 6 or 7 easy wins on the schedule either. So it's tough because there are just so many games that you can potentially lose, and I think that's really what a lot of times is the reason why USC winds up losing a few games. They lose games that they really should probably win, or games that they absolutely had a chance to win. Those close games, those games against quality teams but not great teams, those games are going to determine USC's success in 2021. Another thing that jumps out to me is that they don't play any Thursday or Friday games. Seems like USC usually has at least one weeknight game. Not this year, unless I'm missing something. Maybe the Pac-12 is going to adjust some weeknight games later on. I haven't heard that, but as of right now, every game on the schedule for USC is on a Saturday. So that's interesting. Not really a big deal, but it's just interesting. So again, the schedule for USC is not brutal, but they're gonna have to bring it week in and week out, and the schedule will still be fairly tough for the Trojans in 2021. But the good news is it's as good as it gets with their draw out of the Pac-12 North, avoiding Oregon and Washington. That is really going to lighten the schedule up for USC. We've shown you the schedule for USC in 2021. Now we're going to give you a projected record for the Trojans based off of this schedule. And I want to make it very clear that this is not a prediction. Our official prediction is still months away. It's simply a projection based off of the general odds that I would put for each game on the schedule, based off of what Vegas would do, what the FBI would do, things like that, and just kind of what we expect each team to do. We kind of group teams into categories, into tiers, if you will, and then give a projection based off of that. So let's go through the schedule now, and first let's look at the schedule here. They were 4-1 last year. Let's look at the scale that we're going to be using. So games that are in white will be 50-50 games, 41 to 59%. Games where it really could go either way. Less than 10% in red, 10 to 25% in orange, 26 to 40% in yellow, 60 to 74% in purple, 75 to 90 in blue. More than 90%, it'll be in green. And that's what you'll notice here with USC. They don't have any green games. They don't have any guaranteed wins. They don't have any really easy wins. But they have some games in that 75 to 90% category, games where they're going to be favored by double digits. Yeah, a couple of opponents that you would not have wanted to play last year, but it maybe won't be quite as bad this year. And I'm talking about San Jose State and BYU. Obviously, last year this game would not be in the blue for BYU, but BYU loses a ton. Again, they return less production than any other team in the entire FBS. They just don't have hardly any production coming back. So that's a game that USC should be able to win, unless BYU just reloads. And BYU has not been a team that's known to reload. This should be a win for USC. It's a team that only brings back 47% of their offense and only 16% of their defense. So yes, this is a game that USC should be able to win. San Jose State, I know they had a great year last year, and there's a reason I didn't put this game in the green, but I think it's in the blue here. USC just a much more talented team. And then Arizona. Arizona's kind of been that team that's fallen to the bottom of the Pac-12. It's a home game for USC. I know the game was fairly close last year, but Arizona doesn't really bring a whole lot back this year anyway, so I think USC should be able to win that game. You got 3 wins there that are not guaranteed wins, but games that USC should win. It would be a pretty big upset if they were to lose any of those matchups. And then we go into the purple, the 60 to 74% range. These are games where I think USC is going to be favored by 6, 7, 8 points, somewhere in that range, about a touchdown. And the majority of the schedule for USC, or not the majority, but a lot of the schedule here for USC does land in this purple category. Stanford, Washington State, Oregon State, Colorado, and Cal. Stanford is really falling off right now. I don't really expect them to be a good again this year. Washington State brings back a lot of production, but still, I don't know if this is a team that I would really give. They have a chance. These games in purple, USC could lose these games, any of these games, but I just think they're going to be favored. They're going to be clear favorites by a touchdown or so. Oregon State's in this category, Colorado, Cal. I know Colorado was good last year. I think that was a little bit of a fluke. Not saying they were a bad team, but I don't really have Colorado at the top of the Pac-12 South this year. I think they're maybe mid-tier team, mid-tier team in that division. So these 5 games for me are games that USC has a great chance to win. If things go their way, they take care of business. They should be able to win these matchups. And I've only got one game here where I think USC will be a clear underdog. That's on the road at Notre Dame. And I don't know for sure if I would even put this in the yellow. I did on the Notre Dame video, so I'm going to stick with that. It is on the road. Notre Dame is still proven that they are a better program than USC right now. They've been more consistent. They've been able to do it pretty much year in and year out. I know they've had a few rough years, but as a team that just went to the college football playoff last year, I'm going to give them a slight advantage, but it's in the yellow. Again, that's a game that USC can win. And then you've got 3 more games here. Utah, Arizona State, and UCLA. These are your 50-50 games. These are the games that could go either way. These are the games that are going to determine what kind of season USC has in 2021. Utah is a team with a lot of experience coming back, bringing in some transfers. That's going to be a tough matchup. I think Utah has a chance to be really good this year. Arizona State, another team that I think is going to be at the top there in the Pac-12 South. So those 2 games are going to be big. Also, UCLA. Don't count out this team. UCLA is a team that also brings back a lot of production. They're actually number 2 in the country. Number 2 in the country in returning production. 95% of their offense, 88% of their defense. This could be a dangerous team, a team that maybe sneaks up on some people this year. So that's a game that I think could go either way. Utah, Arizona State, UCLA. These are the toss-ups. These are the 50-50 games. So what's the projection for USC? What we do, we take the blue and the green and count those as wins. We have 3 wins here. Then we average out the other games using 40% for the yellow, 50% for the white, 60% for the purple. All of those games are not, right there at that percentage. But that's just the formula that we use. It's a very conservative approach to this. Very conservative. Leaning towards, more 50-50. And when we do that for USC, the projection does come out to just 8-4. So despite the fact that they're going to be favored in probably 8 of their 12 games, the projection only comes out to 8-4, meaning they're probably, the 3 50-50 games here, they're probably going to win 1 or 2 of those, but they're also probably going to lose 1 or 2 of the games in purple. I mean, when you've got 5 games that you're favored by about a touchdown, it's very hard to win all 5 of those games. I mean, it's hard to win 4 of those 5 games. And so when you average all these numbers out, again, the projection for USC comes out to 8-4. They have a great opportunity to do much better than this. The schedule sets up in a way where they will have a chance. I mean, really, if you go just game by game, they'll have a chance to go undefeated. They can beat everyone on the schedule, but the odds would just tell you that they're going to lose some of these games against teams where they're not huge favorites. And so, again, the projection for USC, 8-4 in 2021.